retire line. I want that opportunity. That's how I feel.
How much of you is surprised that this didn't happen in the spring and has
Yeah.
happened in the summer? Is there a part of you that's kind
Yeah,
of
for
wondering?
sure. For sure. Yeah. I this is a weird situation, and I didn't wasn't on my end or my agent's end. None of it. I mean, it's just kind of obvious. I think just production, play, the market. I'm disappointed. I'll just say that I'm disappointed. I put so much into you know my time here and being a four-time captain and my teammates and the city and um, just living here and you can list all the reasons and um, just important to me. I feel like I love this place and um, it's just I want that opportunity.
All right, man. So Alex Anzalone is pretty much holding out from camp. They saying it's a hamstring, but for the most part, from we seeing and what he's saying is that he's holding out with for a contract, and I guess he didn't get the memo. Them drafting, Barnes and re-signing Barnes, and them drafting Rodrigo, and them really drafting Jack Campbell. That's it. Alexander Zoni, good player, but they're going to go with a youth movement here. He said he retired Lion. We seen the value in him last year, but they can't sign everybody back. When you want to bring back BB, you got to bring back Aiden Hutchinson. When you got to bring back these guys, you literally, once they signed Derek Barnes to that contract, that was pretty much it for Alexander Zoni. So I don't know if they would trade him, but you hear what they say about Jack Campbell, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. It's Jack Campbell's off defense. This transition is legit. Once Jack moved to middle linebacker, the injury and all that, it's Jack's team. So they're gonna go with Jack and really Barnes or Rodriguez, and they might ride this last year out with Alexander Zoni. They might ride it out, but the youth movement is here. This is why they drafted a guy like Rodrigo and Barnes, and they brought in a guy like Zach Cunningham. And for the most part, should they do the right thing and trade them or move them or something like that? Who knows? But it felt like they just gave him a contract. But you coming in there, and then the inside linebacker position is very hard to find. When you start talking about middle linebackers, they take 2 or 3 years to really develop and really start to get their footing. But you don't want to give them away and Jack go down, and you know what I'm saying. So for the most part, he probably gonna stay put. He probably gonna stay here, forced to play the year out, and go somewhere else to get his money. But he at the twilight of his career on his own. So I actually absolutely feel where he's coming from. You really want to get your bread, you really want to get your money, and I get it. I definitely 100% get it. So, but in my humble opinion, it's over with. Now that Campbell's really, entrenched in that position, he's the captain of that defense. He's the man in the middle. He's the man with the plan. Uh, it's no use for Derek. I mean, for Alex no more. You don't get Derek that money, then you must feel really, really good about Derek being an outside linebacker. Arizona and Arizona, but Rodrigo and Zach Cunningham right now backing them up. So they gotta save money where they can right now. So very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, man. Honestly, I don't know where how far apart they are in money, or do the Lions even want to give him a deal? That's a great question. Do they even want to deal with him? And then I know he claiming, oh, I got a leg injury or a hamstring injury and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, then they got other things to worry about. Are they one of the teams interested in Jadeveon Clowney? I think other guys like Matt Judon, I don't know, 4 or 5 teams that say they're interested in Anazone. I mean, in Clowney. I mean, they got some decisions to make. They got some decisions to make. And that's the God honest truth. There's a lot of decisions to make for the Detroit Lions when you're going around talking about, what they need. You lose Anzalone for the year. They're talking about some undrafted free agents. Now, I mean, Makai Wingo, will he be healthy? How fast will Lane McNeil be back? I mean, you got some questions to be answered. You got some questions to be answered across that D line. I felt like you was two defensive ends away regardless. You know, also now you might need some help in the interior line. So Anzalone is probably on the back burner as far as, you know, financial compensation and them taking care of guys like that. He's probably on that back burner. You know, and these guys know when you draft somebody, especially as prestigious as the middle linebacker position is, when you draft somebody at the middle linebacker position and you play that position, you already know your time is coming, buddy. Your time is, but you know, you could probably see them being a duo or something like that, but I doubt it. When they played Barnes, that was the money they was gonna pay Anzalone. So, but for the most part, it's just they got so many holes to fill, and then who knows who physically goes down in camp again. That's the problem. So who you rocking with? Because you got to pay Hutch, you got to pay BB, you got to pay JMO, Laporta coming up. So for the most part, you draft to be frugal. Got Jack for 5 years. I think he's going into year 3 now. So yeah, you got to look at you maybe need some defensive tackle help. Maybe you need some edge help. You do need some edge help. So who else you know what you may need. So I think Anzalone see the writing on the wall. I think we see the writing on the wall. I think everybody see the writing on the wall. When they drafted Jack Campbell, I think they might have gave him a contract after that. I can't remember. When they drafted Campbell, he should have knew what was up. Now if Campbell didn't pan out and he didn't do as well as he's doing, then he probably would have been like, yeah, that's probably my time is over with. My time is still up. They got to pay me because this kid ain't handling his business, but kid handling his business, playing well, very instinctive. Now, you know, he's taking control of the defense. Then for the most part, you know, you the lawnmower man. Or he the lawnmower man, your ass is grass. They're not going to pay you like a middle linebacker to play outside linebacker unless you really that good and young, and he not. He not that young no more. So when they play Barnes that money, you know, he knew it was you know, he knew it wasn't on the up and up. So he can be cut, he can be traded, he can be held to, you know, to hold the position down. But this is the business. If the young guys come and handle business, they cheaper, you know, like why would I pay you? It's a young man's game. You look at the NFL, they ain't even giving a hell about the locker room no more. The locker room is all young guys. And wonder why they got a team full of talented people but no direction and with no maturity. It's crazy. So, but yeah, you know, Anzalone needs to rap. You don't have a leg to stand on right now. Unless Jack don't handle his business or can't handle his business. You got a leg to stand on. That's the God honest truth. So, you know, is there any other suitors that's like, okay, we'll give you a 5th or 6th round for him, or we'll give you a little bit of something. Y'all need a little bit of edge help for him. We really do. That's the question. But really, as soon as you do that, something happened to Campbell, you're going to wish you had him. So really, it's probably the value, unless you get some really, really high trade compensation for him, you know, a player that you really can use or a draft pick that's higher than you thought you can get. His value is in, you know, staying on the team, playing outside linebacker right now, or back in and bagging up Jack Campbell as secondary. So, but hey, it is what it is. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Next subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications. Increase your chance to get notifications. We go live and drop video. Find me on X, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Amazon, wherever I'm at. Follow me. I appreciate the love and support. Let me know what you girls and guys think in the comment section. Peace.